Think of that favorite person. Not your favorite actor, nor your favorite artist or singer, or your favorite barista. I'm thinking of that person that you run to when you have a story to tell, whether it's sad or joyful. Who is that person that you go to because you think that that person listens to you when you are ready to talk? Most of us would think of a parent, a grandparent, a spouse, a colleague, a sibling. Imagine having a conversation with that favorite person now. How would you describe their behavior as they listen to your story? In this video, we'll talk about a mindfulness practice that will enable you to have the behaviors of your favorite person. We'll show you how you can develop the capability to be the person that people go to when they need to be heard. Hello everyone, I'm Lord Fernandez and I am a mindfulness teacher. Welcome to my channel. My goal is to provide people with mindfulness practices that are helpful in their lives, to give them the ability to be present and appreciate the good moments, and the ability to be calm and conscious through the challenging moments. Join me in this video as I explore a mindfulness practice. Connection is a basic human need. After we meet the physiological needs of food, water, and shelter, we seek for human connection. This is rooted in the fact that we as human beings were able to survive in this planet by relying on the community that we are in. We may not have been the strongest and the fastest creatures in the jungle, but because we learned how to rely on each other's strengths, we survived. The best way to build connection is through our conversations with people. Think of your favorite person. Why do you trust them? What makes them trustworthy? Is it because when you're with them, you feel that you are heard? You see, great conversations happen when the two people engaged with them are great listeners. The problem is that there are many barriers to being a good listener. The first barrier that I can think of are distractions. It can be external, like the intrusive messages that we receive from our mobile phones, or internal, like our own thoughts. How many times do we actually zone out when we listen to somebody else, thinking of inconsequential things like our grocery list or the last song that we heard during our commute? Another barrier is our unconscious desire to provide a response to what we are hearing from the other person. Instead of focusing and listening to what they are saying, we are busy composing our response. Sometimes in our eagerness to respond, we even cut them off in the middle of their sentence. The last thing that I'd mention is our discomfort with silence. We seem to think that for a conversation to be worthwhile, there could not be pauses. There could not be awkward pauses. And so we mention things that just derail the conversation in our desire to fill that void. With these barriers, our supposedly meaningful conversation with our spouse, our child, our colleague ends up being another one of those interactions that is a broken connection. But we can all be great listeners. We can do it if we practice. For the rest of this video, I'll walk you through some practices that will help you get there. So let's start. To prepare for any significant conversation, the first thing that I'd ask you to do is to take mindful breaths. Like our previous practice, this will help you separate this moment from the previous moment. This is especially important when we are coming from a place with a very strong emotion, whether it's joy, excitement, or grief, or disappointment. It is important for us to be able to be in this moment with this person without the residual energy of the previous moments. After you have taken your mindful breaths, pay attention to your body, your emotion. Are you tired? Are you joyful? Are the emotions distracting you from the present moment? If it is, I'd ask you to express this to the person that you're meeting. Make sure that you can tell them that, hey, I'm currently distracted, can I take a moment? And if it takes a while for you to dial down that emotion, it is best maybe to just tell the person, can we reschedule when I am able to listen to you better? It is better to just check out than to continue with a conversation that you're not going to be able to pay attention to. The next one, I think, is one of the most important practice in becoming a better listener. It is thinking of the following words. This is what I heard you say. When you're listening to the other person, think of these words. Do not think of your response. Because when you are preparing yourself to just tell the other person what you just heard, you're going to focus on the words that they're saying. You're not going to focus on the words that are building up in your mind. So repeat those words. This is what I heard you say. And then proceed to try to explain to the other person what you just heard from them. Lastly, after confirming that you have understood what the other person has said, I'd ask you to pay attention to your thoughts. Are you able to give a response? Is there a response that is needed for you to bring forward this conversation? Say to the other person that I'd like to actually think of this a little bit. Do you mind if I take some time for it? This will allow you and the other person to be comfortable with the silence. Just be comfortable with it. That will allow you to connect with the person energetically and compose the proper response to what you just heard. These practices are simple but not easy. So be prepared to falter sometimes. The goal is not to be the perfect listener. The goal is for you to develop the capability of paying attention to your mind as you are having a conversation with someone. And during those times when you get distracted, that's okay. Just let go of the distraction and return your attention to whatever the other person is saying. Not all conversations need this practice. However, I strongly recommend that you use this practice for those relationships that might require a little bit more nurturing. When do I practice this in my own life? I've used it during the time when somebody approaches me for a shoulder to cry on, when there's a friend who has to express their grief or sorrow. I have also experienced practicing this when I have to deliver a disappointing message to somebody. After delivering the message, I then have to listen. And during those times, it may be difficult because the person who's experiencing disappointment might be using harsh words. And during those times, I still have to practice mindfully listening. This is also a wonderful practice whenever I have conversations with the children, my niece, my nephew. Children really need the adults to listen to them. So when my niece or nephew come to me and talk to me about their exciting day in the zoo, I use mindful listening. For the next few days, identify a person in your life, a friend, a colleague, a family member, who may benefit from you listening to them. Don't think of someone who elicits a strong emotional reaction for you. You're still learning the skills, so it doesn't make sense for you to slay the dragons this early. Just look for somebody that you may need to pay attention to in your life right now. Who's that person? After identifying the person, think of the moments when you can have this conversation with him or her regularly, daily. Think of the moments when you can listen to their stories, however mundane or exciting it may be. And then after that, in a week's time, try to reflect any changes that may have happened as far as your relationships and interaction with this person. Has anything shifted? I suggest that you also observe the interaction that you have with the other people in your life. In my own experience, the way that I interact with the person that I nominate for this exercise translates to how I listen to the other people. So I encourage you to just hold on to this practice. As I said, it's not going to be easy, but it's going to give you a lot of gifts that will allow you to have stronger connection with the people around you. I wish you all to be well. Thank you for joining me in this mindful moment. See you in the next video for another mindfulness practice.